quit your TV show. Didn't you and Uncle Niles once have a restaurant you quit after like one day?
Just to be sure, this video contains spoilers. The third episode of the Frasier Reboot, First Class, contains several hidden references to Niles Crane. Frasier Crane begins a new life in Boston, 19 years after leaving his hometown of Seattle, and faces new hurdles, such as entering a new professional field and repairing his broken connection with his son, Freddie. Unlike in the Emerald City, he will have to achieve all of this without the assistance of his best friend and brother. Because David Hyde Pierce declined the project, Niles will not appear in the Frasier Reboot. Despite having a main character, the original Frasier provided Niles with a story that is arguably even greater than his older brothers.
You want the dancing bear, don't you?
No!
Throughout the show's 11-year run, the youngest Crane brother had a number of personal changes, the most notable of which was in the love department. Frasier was happier than ever toward the end of his tenure, having a wonderful relationship with Daphne and having just welcomed their first child, David. While there are no more loose ends in Niles' story, his personal friendship with Frasier is much missed in the reboot, especially as Martin's firstborn continues to seek the life he genuinely desires. Here are the 4 references you need to know before episode 4. Number 4. David accidentally matching with Frasier like Niles did.
Are we twinsies?
In Frasier Reboot Episode 3, as Frasier prepares to teach his first class at Harvard, he hurriedly searches his closet for a jacket that matches his entire costume. Freddie and Eve are rehearsing for her impending auditions in his living room, and despite Frasier's inquiries about his fashion choices, they seem unconcerned. Finally, he determines that a tweed jacket with elbow patches provides his students with the scholarly air he desires. Just when Frasier is feeling good about himself, he opens his door to see David wearing an identical outfit, prompting him to change. Interestingly, this is exactly what happened to Frasier and Niles in the original series, which both scared them. Martin's boys appeared in the same ensemble in Frasier Season 4, Episode 10, Liar, Liar, while enjoying their daily coffee at Cafe Nervosa. David's identical outfit for his uncle successfully reveals that he inherited his father's fashion sense. Granted, he shares characteristics with Daphne and the rest of the Moon family, but the Frasier Reboot, which effectively recreates Frasier and Niles' squabble with David, is reminiscent of the younger Crane sibling. Number 3. Olivia describing Frasier and Niles' relationship.
A sibling with whom you have a very intense and competitive relationship.
Despite his prowess as a public speaker, Frasier quickly discovers that teaching isn't as simple as he imagined. In First Class, he finds it difficult to connect with his Harvard classmates after discovering that he only seeks his counsel on personal issues. Olivia, the head of the school's psychiatry department, however, sees no problem with it. In fact, she encourages him to embrace his popularity. In the end, she admits that she wants him to be a dancing bear rather than a genuine educator because she desperately wants him to succeed in order to annoy her sister, who has recently been appointed provost at Yale. After tricking him into taking a Dr. Crane-themed class that nearly drives him insane, she then discusses having a sister with whom you have a very intense and competitive relationship. This rightly irritates Frasier, who is all too familiar with the emotion thanks to his relationship with Niles. Despite their close friendship, Frasier and Niles had a sibling rivalry that sometimes became far too intense. Martin explained in the original episode that this has been their relationship since they were children. Surprisingly, the entire segment never mentions Niles. Frasier's face expression and final decision to stay at Harvard, on the other hand, imply that he is thinking of his brother and how he can relate to Olivia. In addition, bringing up Frasier and Niles' relationship in Frasier Reboot Episode 3 serves as a reminder of what the new show lacks: its electrifying and very amusing dynamic. Number 2. Freddie recalls Frasier and Niles' failed restaurant.
Quit your TV show. Didn't you and Uncle Niles once have a restaurant you quit after like one day?
Despite frequent references to Niles, Frasier's brother is not mentioned in the program until Episode 3. Interestingly, Freddie brings him up while mocking his father for wanting to leave Harvard, just as Frasier did when he informed his father that he intended to leave the Ivy League. Freddie mentions Frasier's habit of quitting, and to reinforce his point, he recalls how he and Niles once stopped their restaurant business after only one night. To be fair, it's worth noting that the brothers quickly decided they weren't made out for the business after the incident in the Frasier episode The Innkeepers. After learning that Seattle's oldest restaurant was closing in 1995, Niles and Frasier pooled their money and resources to buy it. The two had planned the entire opening night, but after becoming their bossy selves while dealing with the workers, they were compelled to handle the kitchen themselves. This isn't the first time someone in the Crane family has made fun of Niles and Frasier's failed business. Previously, their father did as well, demonstrating Freddie's resemblance to Martin. Number 1. Frasier's legacy worries came from Niles' mockery.
So why do you look so glum?
Because this wasn't who I wanted to be.
Frasier complains to Alan about the state of his legacy, feeling defeated after being forced to revert to his old TV show antics to keep his students engaged. He wants to make a genuine difference in the world, and he doesn't believe that hosting Dr. Crane has done so. He is uncertain whether employing his showmanship will help him achieve his aim of sharpening the minds of his contemporaries now that he is an educator. This concern stems from Niles' constant ridicule of Frasier's radio show in Seattle. Although the younger Crane considered becoming a radiotherapist and even participated in a few episodes when his brother was ill, he was unequivocal about its ineffectiveness in comparison to his private practice. In the Frasier Reboot, Frasier is preoccupied with his complaints because he lacks Niles to personally articulate them. Niles' feelings about Dr. Crane are unknown, but the fact that Frasier isn't proud of what it has become highlights his regrets.